In this video, you're going to learn how to get insights out of your audience reports in Google Analytics. So firstly, to access them, just come into the sidebar here. You can click on the audience section, and let's get started by looking at the demographics overview report. Now, the success of any business really depends on understanding who your potential customer is, and a key part of that is really understanding their age and gender. So in this report, we can really see a breakdown in the ages and the age ranges of our website visitors, and also the gender split as well. So in this case, we can see that a significant amount of the website visitors, 36%, and the biggest kind of age bracket is really between the ages of 25 and 34. And also we can see that there is a heavy split towards males and even of that age. So what can we do with this information? Well, we can really focus in on that particular age group and that particular gender if we wanted to grow our business, because obviously they are the most active. And so if we can appeal to them more in our products, in our content, in our advertisements, then we can really grow the business quite quickly. And it's great to come in here if you're thinking of advertising on Facebook or any other platform to really put in this age range and gender, because all of those ad platforms will require you to do that if you want to get the best results. So coming into Google Analytics and seeing this here is really invaluable information. Now, just to note that in order for you to get this age and gender information in your website or in your analytics reports, you want to just enable this in your admin section. So if we come into the admin section and we come into property settings, you just need to come in and make sure that this is enabled, your demographic and interest reports. Now, coming back into our audience reports, let's come down now into the interest overview report. Now, this can be pretty high level stuff sometimes, but it can just be interesting to get a look into the interests of your audience. What are some of the things that they like? And this can give you some ideas about maybe some related products that you could create, or maybe businesses in related but non-competing industries that you could start to partner up with in order to appeal to that same audience. So you can see some of it is pretty high level, but even just to get a sense of who are the audience and what are their top interests, that can really help spark some ideas. Now let's move on down to the geographic reports. And these are often some of the most interesting reports that you can start to dig into. So we can see that English is the most popular language, 61%. And so if we were creating ads or content, well, we can continue to do it in that language. If we saw another language where there was a significant amount of users and goal completions, then we could maybe start to create content to better serve that audience in their native language. If we come down into the location report, then once again we can see the top locations of our website visitors. And for an online business, you might not be too concerned with this if you're selling a digital product, but if you were a local business or you were a national business with retail stores, then you'd really want to see where are the cities that are hitting your website the most, so you could really make sure to serve those customers in that city better. You could open up more retail locations, hold events, etc. Or if you're an e-commerce store, then you really want to make sure that I was able, for example, to ship easily to India, that the fees in terms of shipping were not too expensive, and maybe look at ways to reduce those fees if there were some, in order to better serve those customers. And again, this information is just invaluable if you want to build a profile for your ideal buyer that you can then use in advertising. Now, moving on down, let us have a look at the behavior report and the new and returning visitors. This can just give us an insight again into our audience, people who are visiting for the first time, or that are coming back again and again. So in this case, we can see 81% of our visitors are new visitors. So maybe there's an opportunity to really increase the number of returning visitors. Maybe that's by building a bigger email list. And if we had a content site, we could make sure that we were emailing them every time we released a new piece of content. Or maybe if you're even an e-commerce site, building that email list again and emailing them when you've new product releases or sales in order to try and encourage those existing customers or email subscribers to keep coming back to the site. Moving on down then, we have the technology reports. And again, these are extremely useful to look at and really understand what are the devices and the browsers that our audience are coming to our site on. What we want to do, and maybe a quick check here, is to have a look at the bounce rates and to really look at if there were any browsers where there was a much higher than average percentage of bounces. So we can see here Opera Mini, it's only 1.24% of our total number of users, but there does seem to be a little bit of a higher bounce rate. Up here in Safari, there does seem to be, this is 17.74% of our users over the last 7 days, and there does seem to be a much higher bounce rate here. So maybe that's something we could investigate, test our website on that browser to make sure that everything was working okay. Coming down to the mobile report, then we can really see the split in terms of whether people are accessing our website on desktop, mobile, or tablet. And we can see here that there is actually quite an even split between desktop and mobile and tablet if you added those up. Some sites are heavily geared towards desktop, like online training site like at Udemy. They have a lot of desktop users. And so if you're asking people to link off and check this out, check that out, it's going to be easy for them to do. If a lot of people were accessing on mobile, that's not going to be easy to do. So again, just understanding how your users are accessing your site can influence a lot of decisions you make about the design of the site, the content, and even how you target them once again in advertising. Now looking down at the benchmarks reports, this can be pretty interesting as well. We can really see how our site is comparing versus the benchmark of people in our industry, which we can select here and which we would have selected when we set up our Google Analytics account. So we can have a look at in terms of our different channels, how we might be performing against the average of people in our industry. And that's based on the average of people using Google Analytics and submitting their analytics to Google. So that can be pretty interesting in terms of seeing how you get traffic to your site versus maybe some competitors. For example, this is an e-commerce site, a shopping site. You can see that in terms of referral traffic and organic search, we are significantly higher than the competition, and we're significantly lower than the competition in the normal channels, maybe for e-commerce traffic, which would be paid search or general advertising. So that's just interesting to note. It's just interesting to get that perspective on how other sites are laid out and maybe some of the marketing tactics that they're using as an industry, and to see how that compares against how you really getting those maybe similar users to arrive at your website. So now that you know how to get some insights out of these audience reports, come in to your Google Analytics account and have a look at this information and ask some of those questions that we've been asking in this video.